Hey, Mo, I think your Peloton bike arrived. The UPS guy pulling up.
Since our last video on Peloton a few months ago, we've seen the stock price go up a little bit, and we've also seen some pretty good sales numbers, but there's a bunch of new competition coming on the scene. So today we're gonna be taking a look at Apple's new Fitness Plus program and how that might be a threat for Peloton going forward. Welcome back to the channel, family. My name is Trey, getting in touch with you from Japan. On this channel, we look at individual stocks, and recently especially, we've been having a lot of really good discussion down in the comments section. Recently, I've done videos on companies like Nvidia and Shopify and Airbnb and a lot more. We also have a secondary channel where we talk a lot about entrepreneurship and finances and stuff like that. I recently uploaded a video on passive income and whether or not it's even actually a real thing, along with a supplementary video on how much my $20,000 car cost me. So click up here, check it out if you're interested. So jumping back into Peloton, first, if you're unfamiliar with them, I'm gonna share a little bit about who they are. Then I'm gonna go into some of the threats and some of the competition coming up, as well as finally, what I'm gonna be doing with the stock. If you're already super familiar with the company, feel free to use the timestamps down below to jump ahead to whatever section is relevant for you. Check it out here, we have the 1 year price chart for Peloton. We've seen pretty good gains slowly and smoothly ever since last year, where we saw a peak up at around 139, then a dip after that, actually after the last earnings report, which I'll get into in a minute, and we're almost back up to all-time highs. Peloton is a provider of interactive fitness platforms, including their bikes, their system called Tread, which is basically a sweet upgraded treadmill with a big screen and a bunch of other features, along with a series of accessories as well. You use the equipment to participate in live or pre-recorded group workout sessions, and there's an atmosphere of competition, teamwork, and mutual motivation. They're coming out with a new Tread device soon, and they do charge a hefty price for their equipment, which seems to have taken on a position as a bit of a status symbol for a lot of Peloton devotees. But the bulk of their income is derived from the recurring monthly fees you have to pay to continue to be a member of their service. They've also announced some new partnerships as well with well-known artists like Beyonce, as you can see here. So basically the way it works is once you get this equipment that costs $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, you sign up so that you can participate in either pre-recorded or live sessions with instructors and other people from around the world. And this starts as low as $12.99 a month and goes all the way up to, I think, $39, $49 a month. And so you have thousands of people all over the world who are happy to just pay this monthly fee so that they can be getting their workout. And I think what's ended up happening for most of these people is that they used to be in a gym, and in some cases gyms are much more than that, and they don't mind paying that same price because they can't go to the gym anymore or there are health risks or concerns, so they want to just be able to do it from the convenience of their own home. The pandemic, I think, has contributed a lot to their growth. But it'll be interesting to see once vaccines start coming out a lot more, if people are gonna wanna get back out of the house and start going back to gyms too. Since our last video in September, we've seen some more growth, and I'm gonna share on some HyperCharts coming up here in a second. HyperCharts is a really neat website that I use to help me analyze some of the different companies that I'm looking at. And they provide really nice graphics that help you to understand things easier than a big chart of numbers can. If you're interested in it, please click in the link down below. If you sign up and become a member, that will also support us here at the channel. First, let's take a look at connected fitness subscribers, which makes up the largest portion of their income. Let's compare going back a year to first quarter last year. About 500,000 subscribers, up to 700,000, 880,000, past a million, 1.09, and then this last quarter that just completed, 1.33 million connected fitness subscribers. Peloton mentioned in their quarterly report that this was 137% growth year over year to 1.33 million users. Digital subscriptions also grew at 382% to over 510,000. The difference between the connected subscribers and the digital subscriptions is that you don't have to own any of the equipment to be a digital subscriber. So you can just sign in and do it on your own whatever bike that you have handy and join in on the classes. Next, I want to take a look at revenue segments. Here we have connected fitness products in blue, which I think is like the bikes and the treadmills and stuff like that. And then red is subscription, and then yellow is other. So looking at this quarter, we see $600 million from the products, and then 156 million from subscriptions. That's a nice big healthy jump from even the last quarter. And we've seen pretty consistent growth over the previous quarters as well. This is a 232% growth year over year, which is fantastic to see from a company like this that is facing more and more competition from the likes of cheaper bikes available, and the potential for gyms to be reopening. Though that seems to be on hold for a few more months, at least until the vaccine starts to spread internationally. Though revenues are on the rise, that hasn't necessarily translated to better operating margins. Check out this Hyperchart. Check it out here. We have blue revenue, yellow gross profit, and red operating incomes. So even though between these last 2 quarters we saw such a big jump in revenue from 600 million to 7.5 million, the bottom line operating income actually went down from 90 million down to 68.9 million. So we'll get into some of the potential reasons for that here in a minute. So here we have the operating expenses, which breaks down red sales and marketing, yellow general and administrative, and then green R&D. So we saw a nice big drop from quarter 3 to quarter 4. Keep in mind that each company's quarters don't necessarily line up with a typical year. So right now it's December, so we as humans are in the 4th quarter of the year, but not all companies have their fiscal year start at the beginning. And Peloton is also one of those. And so they just finished up their 1st quarter. So check it out, especially comparing these last 2 quarters. We see sales and marketing, big jump. General and admin, also another big jump. R&D, a little bit of a jump. Actually, proportionally pretty significant. And we'll get into some of the nitty-gritties of those in a second. Peloton has also noted some other really big highlights for the last completed quarter too, including members have completed over 90 million workouts in the quarter across 17,000 classes, which is up 332% year over year. And going back to some of the expenses that I was mentioning earlier, they also added 2,400 new classes for its users to take part in. And making all of those classes requires bigger facilities, more staff, and then also, all the equipment and stuff associated with that too. From the last quarter, in the last video I mentioned this, they started to offer more classes as far as like strength training and wellness goes, rather than just cardio, straight up biking or straight up running. And they've been pretty clear about how they hire specialists and scientists to help figure out how they can optimize these courses to improve the user's benefits. They're also continually updating the systems and their software for an optimal experience, and all of that has expenses associated with it. So as the company's growing, it's pretty safe to expect an increase in expenses, though arguably with the profit margin going down, it's a little bit tricky to say like if this is a really dope investment for us right now at this moment, especially with some other competition coming onto the horizon. They did announce a large expansion of their Plano campus to support the growing staff, as you can see here. More than 100,000 square feet expansion. And we did also see a drop in average monthly workouts per subscription, which could be a potential indicator that people are now busier now that some of the lockdowns have eased up. Or it could just be that people are kind of losing interest in Peloton and what it has to offer, so they're kind of prioritizing it less in their daily schedule. This isn't necessarily like a huge red flag, like, oh my gosh, nobody's using it anymore type thing, but it's just something to know if you are thinking about or if you're already invested in Peloton stock. So putting all these numbers together, it worked out to be a pretty big gain for the company, working out to a GAAP EPS of 20 cents per share for a big expectations beat. But strangely, right after that report was released, the stock price dropped like 25 bucks, which was like 20% of its value. And since then, it's been slowly climbing back up. I wish I watched how the short interest was going. I wouldn't be surprised if there were just a lot of people shorting the stock. And when that earnings report came out, that momentum brought the stock down. And so right now, we're almost back at all-time highs, putting us at a PE ratio of still more than 1,000. So it's interesting. I think in a lot of ways, a lot of loyal Peloton users probably won't go back to the gym now that they have basically a nice gym at home. If they're comfortable and have the breathing room to be able to pay those monthly fees, they probably prefer that over going back to the gym. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens once gyms start opening back up and lockdowns ease up and the vaccine is in place. But it seems pretty clear that the growth in stock price and therefore market cap of the company probably has a lot to do with people being like, wow, look how fast it's growing, I better buy, because growth equals stock price going up. But with a PE ratio of 1,016, it's basically like you're paying 1,016 bucks to get $1 of earnings from this company. That's like really, really high. And I would be a little bit more comfortable with companies that really had a super clear path to huge growth going into the future, or software companies that weren't restricted by hardware. But I think if you are heavily invested in Peloton, it could be a good time to take some profit or to ease out of your position. So, moving on to that competition. In the last video, I mentioned Apple Fitness Plus was coming up on the horizon, and it's finally here now. If you have an Apple Watch and an iPhone or iPad, you can use Apple Fitness Plus, and it's $10 a month. And so one of the things I mentioned was that I don't think people are gonna go out and sell their $5,000 Peloton bikes or whatever so that they can switch over to Apple Fitness Plus. But one of the things I think could potentially be on the horizon is if you've been one of those people who's like, yeah, I really wanna have a nice setup at home so I can work out. I'm just saving up to get to that Peloton level so I can have that exercise swag. I'm just saving up little by little by little by little. So you have this river of people that's moving towards Peloton, providing them growth because they can sell hardware to them. I'm pretty sure things like Apple Fitness Plus will kind of divert that river or dam up that river. So some of these people might be like, I'd rather just go with $10 a month. And I already have an Apple Watch and an iPhone or iPad, so I'm just gonna go that way. And so a lot of people may not end up at Peloton, cutting off a lot of the growth that I think management is banking on in the future. So I've taken a little bit of time to actually try out Apple Fitness Plus, but unfortunately, I'm having problems syncing my watch with the phone, and also my Apple TV is too old. And I went on the internet, and like so many people are having technical difficulties with Apple Fitness Plus, making it work sync correctly so that they can see their cardio numbers on the screen and stuff like that. And it feels like this is very not Apple levels of like ease of use. Even just updating the firmware on my watch took like a day to do, which is like a really big hassle. So a little bit disappointed with Apple's execution on that as an Apple stock owner and kind of an Apple fanboy. Even though I used to be a Windows fanboy, don't hate on me, I love all the systems. But right now in our life, Apple seems to be working well for us and our team. But going back to Apple Fitness, I gave it a shot, check it out. So that's kind of what it looks like doing it on my phone, which is kind of like a silly way of doing it. I want to get it up on the TV so I can show you guys properly, but you can get an idea from what I showed you there, I think. So all that being said, Apple Fitness Plus is about $10 a month, as opposed to Peloton's like 12 to I think 50 or 60 bucks a month or whatever it works out to. Their plans have changed price a couple times recently, so I'm a bit confused on that. But in my case, we've already had our family set up on the Apple One plan, which has like games and iCloud and music and all these different things. So getting the Apple Fitness Plus was basically like a freebie. So I don't consider it like, oh man, I'm paying 120 bucks a year for this thing. I'm just kind of like, hey, this is a cool little bonus on top of all these other things that I've already ascribed enough value to for it to be worth it for us. If you'd like me to do a little bit more in-depth review on the actual app after me and my friends and family have used it, let me know. I don't think that really like suits the theme of the channel or whatever, but just let me know if you have any questions or requests on that. But going back to what Peloton was expecting for the future, they seem to be forecasting lots more growth going into the future, including 30+% revenue year over year, up to 3.9 billion for this coming year, and a continued extra low churn rate of 0.9%, which is basically like how many people are leaving your service. And 0.9% is like really, really good. That means people who are in Peloton really, really like it. And one of the tricky things about evaluating that is like, if you've spent $3,000 on this big equipment, you're not, after 2 months, you're not just gonna be like, yeah, I'm tired of it, whatever, I'm gonna stop paying. There's this sunk cost in your mind where you're like, man, I've paid $3,000 for this thing. I better keep paying for it for a few more years so that I work out with it, you know? And so that contributes to that low churn rate, I think. But they're expecting really good smooth sailing going forward. But I think with more competition coming onto the scene from the likes of Apple Fitness Plus, we might start to see the situation change a little bit. So what do you guys think about all this? Do you think it's actually gonna end up hitting Peloton's bottom line? Do you think Fitness Plus is going to hit Apple's bottom line and help them get more subscriber growth or sell more watches? What do you guys think? I'm a little bit concerned about the future of Peloton, and I'm not sure they'll be able to keep up that super hot growth. It seems that they've made this big, beautiful new segment in the market of like really high-end, premium kind of status symbol-y equipment. And I know a lot of people in the US who are like, yeah, check it out. I got my new gear here in my house, and they kind of floss it, you know? But I'm curious to see if that's going to be able to keep going at the same pace we're already at. And so when it comes back to evaluating the stock, if you're already factoring in, you know, 1,016 PE ratio and really solid growth going into the future, the current stock price of like 130, 120, I mean, I think it's kind of bonkers. I don't expect there to be able to be a lot more huge, big upside in this stock. But I'd be more concerned about things settling down even more. You know, we have a lot of uncertainty in the market, and it seems like, especially with all the IPOs going on recently, there's a lot of like unmerited exuberance in the market. And so if you're holding on to Peloton, please take some profit. It's probably a good idea to take some profit. I would take some profit, but then again, I'm not your financial advisor. I don't know your situation, and I'm just some random guy on the internet. So actually don't listen to my advice. But if you're thinking about Peloton as a long-term investment, I personally would be like, there's better places to put your money. But I'm just really interested to hear what you guys have to think. What are you gonna do with the stock? Are you interested in it? Are you running away from it? Are you, on the other hand, gonna be buying Apple stock? Like, what do you think? Looking forward to talking with you guys down in the comments section. Thank you guys very much for your time. And forgot to mention the Webull deal has been extended till the end of the year, December 31st. Deposit $100 and get 4 free stocks valued up to $3,700. And if you do that, that will also help us here at the channel by getting us like a free stock of $30 or something like that, which would be really cool. So thank you guys very much for watching. Have a great week and or weekend, depending on when you're watching this. Love you guys and talk to you soon.
Are we filming? Now we're going to do a video about the Peloton bicycle.